How's it going, guys? It's Mr. Lone Wolf, and today I'm going to go and do this only for the worthy mission, which I'm not too keen on. Should be called only for the eye rolling or something. Yeah, I've got a couple of different trucks. I wanted to try a couple of different things. I know for the most part it's going to need some kind of heavy hauler, so we've got the P16, the Kolob, the Cat 745C, and I'm bringing the P12 not because of its towing prowess, or lack of, more like. I've got the crane on it. This is the map. I've kind of not looked at it too well in this bit, but it's near the sawmill. You can kind of see the path I've drawn. I'll look at the route from like the truck to the fuel place you've got to drop it off at later. So yeah, apologies, I didn't really get the best look before I set off. So I'm going to take the Kolob and the Cat 745C. Long story short, the winch wouldn't attach to the Cat, and then I had to switch to the Cat to get the engine to start, so I'll just cut that bit out. So we'll go for a drive there. Like I said, it's nothing, for the most part, you may as well just kind of head towards that sawmill. Now, one of the missions I was going to do, that I was considering doing tonight, is, what's it called? Is it train departure or something? When you finally got the paper factory A, B and C done, then you can deliver that cellulose, and then you can do train departure. But one of the things you need for train departure is 3 lots of fuel, and you get the fuel from this fuel storage in like the bottom corner of the map, which is where you've got to drop off this truck in Only for the Worthy. And when you read the description and everything of this Only for the Worthy mission, in rewards it says you get 500 XP and 5,000 or whatever it is, but it also says access to location. And I did actually test it myself in the end before I started this mission, but what I wasn't sure was, am I going to get halfway through doing train departure and then I'll go to that sort of fuel storage in the bottom left hand corner of the map, and then it won't let me have any fuel. It'll sort of, you know, essentially it'll be like you've got to complete Only for the Worthy first. Like I said, I ended up going there with Dolphin and Loaf just to have a look, and you can actually get fuel from there. Yeah, it already lets you have fuel, so you don't need to do this mission to get that train departure done. But and then in the end, to be honest, I was like, sod it, there's a few things, yeah, in this video I want to have a little moan about this mission. I mean, not a moan as such, it's not, the thing I don't think that's very good with this mission is they kind of used the game's weaknesses in certain areas to up the difficulty of the mission, and in a way it sort of feels like they kind of knew that was the case, because they've called the mission Only for the Worthy. When you deliver it at the end, the guy basically says like, oh, you're a truly noble driver or something. I thought I'd have to chop the crane in half and blah blah blah. So yeah, it's obviously it's like a well stuck truck. And I'm not mad at the mission or anything because it's like, oh, I couldn't just get it out in 2 minutes and I'm done. Like, I was up for the challenge, it's nothing wrong with that. I mean, the P12 is a little bit gutless to say the least, but yeah, again, I knew it was going to be a challenge and I was cool with that, but there was loads of different aspects of the mission that are just, like I said, it was almost like they knowingly relied on some of the game's iffier areas to, yeah, up the difficulty, and it just, I don't know, seems a bit of a trollish, odd way to, yeah, to do things, really. So anyway, we're almost there, driving there. One thing I do like, I've mentioned it before, but when you stick a loaf on the back of this Kolob, you can actually pack the loaf, even though I've not got like a sideboard or anything, which is pretty cool. It just allows you to do it, so I do. Which means he hangs on like a good one. Obviously the loaf behind me is sat in the like log cradle. It's now a loaf cradle for the Cat 745C. You could have seen then my P12 was already up the hill. I previously got this out of there with a loaf, just one loaf. There's a goddamn horse of a vehicle. But it was when I discovered all these sort of trollish things which I want to go through. So you can see I've reset the mission. It's now back where it needs to be. I've brought everything else down. There's no point in just leaving the footage and me driving the other 2 vehicles down here. Now first things first, in theory, see, when you think Only for the Worthy, it's a stuck truck, all the rest of it, it's like, maybe they would allow you to explore the game mechanics. Not confident, doesn't fill you with confidence when this P12 can't even make it up the hill on its own, and this is a fully upgraded P12. But yeah, I mean, you've got a big crane, you've got a stuck truck, so I kind of already knew what would happen, but just for the sake of this video and to kind of prove my point that you may approach this mission and think, oh, well, surely the heavy crane, the big crane, would be useful in a situation like this. Yeah, I mean, I'm parked kind of like where I can actually sit pretty level. I've got my crane legs out and everything, and I can't lift it at all. And like I said, not that I'm expecting or thinking, oh, you should just lift this thing for fun like it's nothing, but the crane should at least be strong enough to stand it up on its nose. I'm amazed that it actually lifted it off the floor enough to kind of swing over that way, but as you can see, it's pulled me over. It's kind of shoved my crane legs into the floor, so even though I have them out, they're just kind of like vanishing into the floor. And then now it's, every now and then you get little blips of like extra strength on the crane for a few seconds. That's how I used it the other day when I said like you could flick the winch a bit, and I got it to lift the crane, lift the loaf. Just about gets the front end again, but can't really do anything with it. And now I'm doing a big wheelie. And yeah, long story short, I just brought that, and that's over and done with. That's just one thing where the game kind of highlights its own crappy crane situation. The fact that they're not strong enough. And yeah, this crane, I mean, I've seen I think there's a recovery place near me that's got a 70 or 100 ton crane. And it's probably a bit bigger than this crane, but it's not like, you know, a monster. This crane here must surely be like, I don't know, a 30 to 50 ton crane. But yeah, no chance of lifting that, so that option is out. So I've reset the mission again. And yeah, this is basically the reason why it's such a pain in the arse. When you go near it, or you attach a winch, it kind of falls into place. And those crane legs at the side dig into the floor. That's the biggest issue. It's not the thing's weight or anything. It's like, again, it's like a game mechanic. Just quickly as well, every now and then it doesn't show you winch points, which just adds to the extra trollishness. This is like an out of sync clip. I just moved it to that bit. I was kind of had that loaf sat there waiting for that to happen. Yeah, it's like, why would, like, because basically the crane legs are almost sort of glitching through the floor and then being locked in place, a bit like how my Hummer is stuck in the cliff. And it's like, why would you use that, well, I wouldn't say mechanic, but kind of like technically broken part of the game in real life? The crane legs don't glitch through the floor and hook impossibly into the terrain. I admit, yeah, they would catch and drag and all of that. So anyway, just to show you, this is with the Kolob. It's one of easily like the best hauling machines in the game, really. I winched to the truck, it dropped back in place, it rolled over to the side, and like I said, its crane legs absolutely hooked into the floor to the point I'm just very slowly winching towards it. I even switched the winch point to like the top of the bumper instead of the bottom, just to show you like that it's still again a troll. I'm not bothered that I'm not getting it out there in seconds. It's more that, yeah, it's a very odd set of challenges to overcome. They could have easily just put a few rocks here and there and made it a little bit more like you have to faff around. Yeah, one thing I do, this is how I got it out with the loaf last time, put a loaf there, that tree is solid, and I could winch it and sit it to its wheels, so now it's a bit more stable. When I attach the winch to it, it just flops back though, because it's like, when I disconnected the loaf winch, the lock physics thing happens, so then when I attach the Kolob winch, it suddenly falls, blah blah blah. Next issue is with the winches in general. You used to, like, if you are hoovering in the winch and you're also driving forward, the vehicle behind you would be driving with you. But now they've separated it to where if you're hoovering in the winch, the vehicle behind you just stops and does nothing. If you only accelerate, the vehicle behind you will accelerate as well. But obviously it makes sense in a towing flipping situation. You want to combine driving forward and pulling the winch in. So that's just another, again, it highlights another broken mechanic of the game, and it's like, why would you draw attention to it? This is one way just to help you out a bit. Use that first tree with the red loaf, and I tipped it up. Go on this side with another loaf. The reason I'm using loaf, I'll get to it in a sec. Obviously I love my loafs, but there is more reason to it. Stick a winch from this one to the back of that P12 just to kind of get its chassis more centred in this ditch, and then use this loaf to tip it back to its wheels. Yeah, it was easier to position a loaf this side and that side and do what I'm showing you now than to drive a Kolob up here and then drive a Kolob over that side and blah blah blah. And again, the loaf's a goddamn horse, he could handle it. So once you've tipped the Kolob to where it's not lying on its side, go flat out at it with a loaf. Get yourself wedged in there. Stick a winch on this tree. And now I can kind of, yeah, like push and prop the P12 up a bit more. But obviously when I disconnect the winch, I believe I do, it will shove me back down a bit more. And then crane legs are again closer to kind of digging in the ground. We're still in a better position than we were before. That was just a tree that couldn't handle it. That tree was not loaf trained. Now I'm actually winched to my loaf, my red loaf behind that tree, so that's pulling with me. So we managed to not far off get this thing like sat perfectly horizontal. But if I now go to switch trucks and I switch to the Kolob, I'm far enough away that it'll lock the physics in place with that loaf and that P12. And then I can do that. As soon as I attach the winch, the physics will kick back in. You'll see it kind of move. But I don't know what the hell I was doing there. I even did it to that side because it was fair with the tests I was doing earlier. I probably would have winched with the other side of the bumper, but yeah, the loaf stayed there long enough, keeps it propped high enough to where those crane legs can't hook in, and it's as easy as that. So, and I'm not saying this is like, I'm sure, you know, you could try parking up the hill near where my red loaf is and with this Kolob and pulling on it and all sorts. But I'm just saying, these were, I was trying to highlight the areas of the game where it's like, yeah, why would you use those mechanics or lack of mechanics or limitations of the game versus real world to increase the difficulty? Now, long story short, this is footage tonight. I did get this P12 out of here the other week. I thought I was saving the footage for like when I make the video. Long story short, I've had to make room on my PlayStation and I have deleted the footage. I didn't really realise until after I got all this footage. This is what I was doing, was hooking into the floor to pull the P12. But with the winches, you see, I'm hoovering and driving, so the P12 is putting no effort in. I'm now wedged nicely in the floor, so I let off the winch, so I'm only driving, so the P12 would drive with me. But then my loaf wheels were spinning, it came back out the floor, and I didn't have my little loaf holes to hook into. It's just everything about this mission was like, it just highlighted something slightly off with the game that if I was either a dev or knew one of the devs, I'd be saying, please fix this slight little thing that used to work in the game, kind of thing. But yeah, here's another, like I said, I was resetting kind of all, I've pulled this thing out of it about 5 times tonight with all different ways, just for the different various bits of footage I was after. You're not necessarily out of the woods yet though, because, and again, this almost gets me to another point, these are the trucks I'm going to have a go at pulling this P12 up this hill, because it does not like going up this hill. So Cat 745C, P16, Kolob, and my P12 while it was here with the crane, I thought I'll give it a go. Yeah, like I said, once you get the, say the P12 to that point, getting it up this hill, long story short, it hasn't got enough guts to it to get itself up this hill. When I actually rescued it with a loaf, I came through those trees that are at like the top of the screen now. I actually kind of like 2 birds with 1 stone. Instead of doing the L shape, I just went direct to the source, and I got it up to about here, and I was like, to be honest, I want to do something different with the footage. Like, there's no point in using the loaf to tow it all the way to the fuel storage thing anyway. So yeah, I'm not too bothered that I lost the footage, but still it's a shame because the loaf is a goddamn horse. The Kolob was able to get it up there. That's what she said. Yeah, the P16, I was curious to try this because it's a non-all-wheel drive truck, but I really like this, and I think it's a hauling beast and all the rest of it. Now, as you can see, it was wheel spinning, and I was like, oh, that's a bit of a shame. I was hoping the P16 would be able to get this thing up the top of the hill. However, I've cut ahead a little bit because I drove to the top of the hill to go and winch to it, but then it said out of fuel. I was like, ah, that'll be why. So, just quickly changed to my P12, stuck a bit of fuel in it. Basically, I was towing a dead truck when I was just testing it with the P16. For the Kolob, like, the P12 had fuel in it, so it was assisting a little bit. And now I knew I could see it was moving again. I was like, right, I'll reverse the P16 back down there to do kind of a fair test again. I mean, it's at the bottom, it's about where it was when I started with the Kolob. I've not put it into high-low yet. Oh yeah, also, I forgot to mention, I've tried the fine-tune gearbox in the Kolob. Yeah, Anyway, the P16, and this is what I like about this truck. It is an underrated truck, really, and a lot of people, understandably, probably overlook this truck, because by the time you get to this truck, you would have realised that trucks without all-wheel drive are pretty crap. So you'll see this and be like, oh hell no. Yeah, this is just, it's weighted really well, it's got great grip on the tyres, it's a very good truck in the game. A lot of people know it, but there'll undoubtedly be people that naturally skipped it. I did for a while because I was like, well, I don't like that it's not got all-wheel drive. Next up, Cat 745C. To be honest, I had no real doubts this thing would haul it out there pretty well. And again, in theory, you might get lucky if you winch the P12 out the ditch. If it doesn't tip over, you might not get the crane legs hooking in, and it might be a 15-second removal. But for me, it just kept tipping over, and then yeah, it's not the weight of the P12 that's the issue, it's the crane legs sticking into the terrain. So yeah, the Cat 745C was able to haul it. And lastly, I'm trying it now with the P12. Bear in mind, my P12 is fully upgraded, got all-wheel drive, yeah, top engine, best gearbox, etc. The one we're all trying to get out of the ditch is not all-wheel drive, so I'm going to assume it's also got a stock engine. It's certainly not got chains on, probably stock or fairly basic wheels. Yeah, this P12 is struggling, which is funny because it shows you the difference really. I appreciate that, I will say this P12 does have the crane on its back, but it's only trying to tow like its own twin up a hill, with which its twin is offering assistance, although it's not a lot. Well, you can see there it's driving, so it's bloody offering, like, long story short, this P12 my P12 can barely get up this hill on its own. Never mind towing this thing behind me. Trying to sort of let a bit of tension off the winch and then drive forward and see if I can kind of spring it up the hill a bit more. But yeah, it was just a pretty terrible showing. And like I said, that's my fully upgraded P12, so gives you some idea of what we're trying to get up this hill. Is a stock P12. Even sort of got to the top of the hill to say give my P12 a bit more chance, but I mean you can see the wheels just keep jiggling. It's a shame really, this truck. And again, that's another aspect what I was saying, is we're now trying to rescue a P12, which is clearly such a terrible truck in the game. It can't even get up this hill without heavy hauling assistance. So yeah, the magic of editing, I got a loaf on the P16. So this is the route. I'm going to go through the sawmill. That's where I got the classified mission the other day, so I already kind of know this is actually a pretty decent route to take. There's a little bridge I have got to go over there, that's where the classified mission was. But there is a nice clear route round to there, because you've got all these ditches everywhere, and there's a bridge, there's all kinds of little annoying gaps and everything you got to get over. My route, genuinely, that one bridge you got to go over, it's a straight run to it, it's pretty simple and easy, and yeah, by all means, pick whatever way you want to pick. I'm just saying I have officially ran this route and it went pretty well. Yeah, like I said, got a little loaf, hooked on, got to bring the horse with me, but of course he's got spares, repairs, fuel, and if I was to flip, then yeah, he'll save me. Do love the old horn as well on the P16. In the end, I honestly was considering bringing the Cat 745C to do this mission, because there is rarely a situation really where I get to bring the Cat 745C out, but I don't know what to tell you. I prefer the the P16 to the Cat, and considering we're rescuing a P12, it's kind of the Pacific family. Of course, the P16 is going to be the one rescuing the P12. I couldn't see it happening the other way around. Long story short, if there was a broken P16, this P12 would be struggling to tow it anywhere, other than like maybe down a paved tarmac road, downhill with the wind behind it. Yeah, as well, just while I'm chatting along, the loaf isn't packed obviously or anything, but I've also not got a winch to it in this situation because I'm winching the P12. The nice thing is that little rail that sits along the top of the P16, it raises up at each side, so it's like a bit of it like slopes down to the middle, so even without a winch, if you hook the loaf's tyres over it, it hangs on pretty well. It depends, like if you start bumping around, the loaf definitely can and will fall off, but it's not bad for an unwinched, unpacked vehicle that's also like I've not got a sideboard on or anything. It's getting a little bit close here, but Come on, P16. Do that horn. Tell the terrain who's boss. And yeah, again, I mean, it was quite enjoyable doing it with the P16 because it was certainly not one that everyone would pick for the first choice for doing this. It's a good job though. I did have the P16 because killing that tree was handy. There was a tree stump to the right of me, and again, don't do well with tree stumps. See, got an awkward bounce there, and the loaf slipped off. I edited like 10 seconds out, but essentially stick a winch to the side of the loaf, to a tree, hoovering back to the middle, and we're good to go. That's one thing I was thinking that I'm kind of disappointed that we didn't get on Phase 3. I thought we were going to get some kind of giant logging trailer for the P16 that folds up and kind of sits on the back of the P16 that exist in real life, and we also had foldable trailers in MudRunner. And especially that this P16 specifically, like that metal rail at the top of the P16 is, yeah, to rest a foldable trailer on it in real life, so I'm surprised they didn't have that. I believe where we're driving past now might have even been where we got one of those Sequoia things from in that Fallen Titans mission. But as you can see, I just went over the bridge, and yeah, it's a pretty clean run all the way there. Another thing, just for random light as I'm mentioning it, this P12, I like that it has winch points at the front in the corners, but it has none in the middle. And they also knew in this mission we'd have to tow this truck to this fuel storage. And again, it's like, could you not add a winch point to the middle of the truck? Because then when I was going over that bridge, because I'm towing the P12 behind me on an angle, and like I said, it's just one of them things, I'm not having a moan, the mission doesn't piss me off or anything like that. As you can see, it was pretty simple and easy really. I was just trying various different things for the footage, but if I did this mission again now, I'd have it done in 10 or 15 minutes, so it certainly wasn't like a stress-inducing mission. It was just one of them where you sort of rolling your eyes and scratching your head a bit, like, why on earth would you draw attention to these aspects? I mean, yeah, going over that bridge, like I said, because the only having side winch points puts the P12 like off kilter. It's just, yeah, just one of them things. In real life, I'm pretty sure you'd be able to stick a winch rope to the middle of the P12. Oh no, got a bad bounce. Lowe's finally gone, but funny enough, look, if the P12 wasn't there, he would have got back to its wheels. P12 just ruins everything. But he's all good. He's a horse. We'll go back for him in a sec. Well, we're pretty much here now, that's why I didn't bother going for a rescue. If my truck randomly exploded now, 2 foot from the drop-off point, I still could have got the loaf and fixed everything. So yeah, I mean, long story short, like I said, noble driver, we thought we'd have to cut the crane in half, blah blah blah, and then you get a bit of money. Oh yeah, and it says you can use our repair place for free, but my goddamn horses, they already fixed the P16, so we needed to test some. Here's the loaf seat, fired up like a good one, flings the winch out and we're off. So I needed to damage the loaf, so alright, I'll ram the P16, but it's just too much of a meatloaf. Took it like a boss, didn't take any damage, so I had to go and ram something else. That's what she said. Ram that, take some damage, so I've officially got engine damage, and yeah, this square here, drive into it, and it fixes you. Funnily enough, it doesn't give you any fuel, which, given that this is a literal fuel station, but whatever. There is a fuel trailer there as well, and you can get fuel from here. Like I said, you can, whether you do this mission or not though, get fuel, but you don't have access to the free repairs until you've done the mission. But to be honest, how often are you going to be in this bottom corner of the map for fuel or repairs really, so it's a little bit redundant. So I was testing it out. The just for what it's worth, the P16 took 25 engine damage and the loaf only took 19. Told you he's a beast. And then I wanted to see if I could reverse my loaf into there, but sadly it was not to be. But yeah, that's about it for today. Like I say, it's not a horrific mission, it's just one of these that are a bit, not, I don't know, they could have done other ways of making it a bit more fun, but whatever. Yeah, that's about it for today though. I hope you enjoyed, I hope that helps. Thanks for watching. Get yourself a loaf, of course. Thanks to my Patreon members, and I'll be back soon.